Om Namo Narayanaya. Hello, dear devotees of Chicago Ckb-Bari. We have a 4:30 session on the subject of both astronomy and astrology. And Mr. Sriram Ramanujam of Virginia will take us around the galaxy today. Thank you.
Jai Narayana to all the devotees of Chicago Ckb-Bari. And thank you so much for tuning in for these weeks as we talk through our ancient Vedic astronomy and astrology. By astrology, we mean how we measure time with respect to our Panchangam that we talk about every day, right? We use the different planetary systems to make sure we understand which day we are in, what season we are in, what is the month of our year, and things like that. Right. Last time, I think we went through how the moon plays a very, very important role in determining, the tithi defines so much for us when as it revolves around the earth. The phase of the moon plays an important role. And last Sunday we kind of were supposed to show you that the moon rather was a full moon. It was a full moon or pointing towards Uttara Phalguna Nakshatra, and that's why many the month itself is called Phalgun Masam or Phalguni or Panguni. Right now, no, right now we are in Krishna Paksha. We are half there, exactly half. We don't see we are seeing the half of the moon, which is we are trending towards Amavasya. Okay, and that's exactly, if you look at it, this is exactly the position of the Earth with respect to where we are in the around the sun. Today's topic of discussion is primarily going to be around the sun. Actually, we talked about how the moon has an impact on the different days and the 7 days of the week. That's what we covered last time. But now let's look at the sun. The sun is a very, very important aspect of our for everything, right? The light that the sun gives is the source of energy, the source of life for us. We can think about, oh, if water is there, we can survive. No, we can't survive with just water. You need light in order to be for even the water to be effective. So our Vedic scriptures say the sun is a planetary body, and that's what we are seeing here. But then there are 12 Adityas. So the 12 Adityas are there that we need to receive energy from. That makes up the 12 months for us. So the 12 months are Adityas, and the Adityas are a separate class of Devatas. That applies for any galaxy that you see on this creation. In this creation. Now, if you look at this picture here, what we have done is we have the sun at the center of the universe, of our universe, right? And then the earth is revolving around it in anti-clockwise direction. The sun is also rotating in an anti-clockwise direction, and the sun is also moving around the galaxy in an anti-clockwise direction. Just keep that in mind. Now, the sun is the chief of the planets. When we have the Navagrahas, right, that we talk about, the sun is the primary, is the chief or the foremost because it's of the light aspect of it. And that's why when when you start our the Vara that we have, the 7 days of the week, which are denoted for each of the planetary bodies, Bhanuvara, right? Bhanuvara is the starting of the week for us. The work day may start on Monday, but the week itself actually starts with Bhanuvara for us. That's and ends with Shanivara, with the Saturn, the slow moving planet. Shanivara is the last day of the week, Bhanuvara is the first day of the week because the sun happens to be the chief of the 9 planets, because it's everything for us. And now if you look at this whole chart, it's a circle, right? We are really not revolving around the sun in a circular fashion. We are slightly elliptical. It goes around, but it's slightly oblong. But that's how the whole world is, right? When you talk about the whole universe, everything is round, but it's still, there's a little bit of an oblong to it. There's a little ellipse to it. When you talk about andam, right? When you andam is an egg. The egg, if you look at the egg, the shape of the egg is, it's slightly tapered to the top, bigger at the bottom, right? That's exactly how the whole universe is. When you talk about Brahmandam is Brahma's andam, right? It's like the andam, everything is the shape of an andam, right? We rotate, the whole galaxy rotates, everything is in the form of an ellipse. So just to make things easier for us, we've made it a circle. It's easy enough to kind of divide it up. But if you look at where we are, we have 12 pies. 30 degrees make up 1 pi of the universe. That is, with the sun at the center, we have 30 degrees is 1 pi. And that pi is divided per the constellation. It's given a name. The pi, each pi is given a name in Sanskritam, and there are of course each of our months, all right, or named after these pies. Actually, many people may know that right now we are. If you look at the Sanskritam name, we are in Meena Masam, right? We are in Meena Masam. We were in Kumbha Masa. So Kumbha Masa is what we were last month. That's where you have Kumbha Mela. When the Kumbha Mela happens, usually it's always in the Kumbha Masa. So the Kumbha Masa has to be there for Kumbha Mela to happen once in 12 years or whatever that you may have heard about in Prayag or any confluence, right? Any river that meets, there's a big event that happens. That Kumbha Mela always happens in the Kumbha Masa. Now, Meena Masa is another important month because it happens to be the last month of our Hindu calendar. So the Hindu calendar is where we are coming out of Shishira Ritu, right? The Ritu that we are in is in Shishira. Shishira meaning the deep freeze. We were at colder, throughout the world. This happens in various degrees. But even in tropical climates and things like that too, there are varying degrees of Shishira Ritu that happens, and we are in the middle of it right now, given where we are. We are about 12 days away from the New Year. We're going to be celebrating the New Year where it goes to Chitra. So each of these, the pies have a name called, Meena. The next one that we are going to see is Mesha. Mesha is the Aries, right? The Aries is what the Western people call it. That's the Chitra Masa or the Mesha Masa. Of course, the Chitra, I told you, the moon, right? When it comes around, it is going to go in, and the new moon is going to be in Chitra Nakshatra. That's why the Masam is called Chitra. Plus, but what really happens is, we're going to focus today is the Mesha Masam. So the pi that you see, even though the Earth may be here, when we go in 12 days, right? We're going to have a Chandramana Yugadi. That the Chandramana Yugadi is going to make us go into Chitra Masa. And so also Sauramana, like 1 day later on the 12th, we are going to go into Mesha Masam, which is Chitra Masam for everybody, pretty much. So when we go into this pi, that's what constitutes the changing of the month for us. The earth is moving, but then what the sun is going to show us, the sun is going to point to Mesha. This part of the galaxy is called Mesha Rashi, because the Rashi meaning there's plenty, right? The Rashi, there's a Rashi of stars. That star constellation here, which is called the Aries, is what is given the name of Mesha together, right? This pi is called Mesha. So whatever the sun shows us, in the sense that the sun shows us, we cannot see it because during our nighttime we cannot see that, right? Till now we were able to see Taurus, stars. we will never be able to see Taurus anymore, nor Aries, because the sun's going to be bright during their daytime. It's going to be these pretty much, this place is going to be covered. We are going to be right behind. So whatever constellation we cannot see is the name of the month, the Mesha Masam. That's how the Sauramana Masa comes into picture. So the difference between the Chandramana is whenever it's a new moon, right? Whenever it's a new moon, whatever the new moon is going to be on a particular month is what we get the name from, Chitra Masa, right? After the Chitra Masa, what happens? You're going to have Vaishaka Masa. So whenever there's going to be Vaishaka on the new moon, you're going to have Vaishaka. But at that time, what's going to happen? The sun, we are also going to move, and it's going to be like that, right? It's going to be like this into Vaishaka, which is called Vrishabha. So that's how the Sauramana and the Chandramana work together. Is whatever the sun shows on the opposite side is what constitutes our Sauramana Masa. So mostly the Sauramana Masa is what is predominantly used in the southern parts of India, in Kerala, in many other parts of country. But again, don't mistake ourselves to take that Sauramana belongs to a certain region or Chandramana belongs to a certain region. Both these calendars or the movements of these two things, right, the sun and the moon, are integral to our Vedic culture. One cannot exist without the other. We use both for various reasons, but given the fact that we have the English calendar that we need to follow, we got to work in a different calendar system. We've kind of reduced our dependency in trying to follow both these Sauramana and Chandramana. So we've gravitated towards, Bengal uses Chandramana versus Tamil Nadu uses Sauramana. That's really not the case. We both use both these planetary systems, and what it defines for us as the Ritu is actually given by the sun. The sun is what defines the season for us. So the next couple lectures, I think we'll devote towards talking about the Sankalpam. When you do Sankalpam, you cover the various aspects of where we are with these two planetary bodies, and that will tell you why the Ritu comes into picture. Now we were at the Shishira Ritu, right? As we move into Chitra, look at it. Chitra and Vaishaka are both Vasanta Ritu. So they both have Vasanta Ritu, right? Even though we celebrated Vasanta Panchami and all that, the true spring actually comes from Chitra as soon as we enter Chitra and go into Vaishaka. So the seasons are defined by the sun, because the sun's light and sun's energy is what defines the seasons for us. So the 12 pies, and each of the 12 pies are again subdivided, two of them to make up a Ritu, which is a season. We have Vasanta Ritu, after that comes the Grishma Ritu, after that comes the Varsha Ritu, where it's a rainy season, then it comes the Sharad Ritu, and the Hemant Ritu, the Shishir Ritu, right? We can go into detail about what they really mean, but I just want to mention them. So now coming back to the Rashi, this pi, right? This space, the what do you call the angular distance? Like I'm looking for a word here. I'm sorry. The travel, right? The travel around the arc, the length of the arc. Yeah, that's what I was missing. Now, if you look at it, there are 27 nakshatras, right? We mentioned about the 27 nakshatras that are Daksha Prajapati's daughters. The Daksha Prajapati's daughters are the ones that got the job, so to speak, to be influencing the birth of people. So because they are belonging to Prajapati, right? The Prajapati is one that is supposed to take care of life form, right? The increase of the life form is the job of the Prajapatis, not just humans, but everything else. So the nakshatra devatas have an influence on each one of us because of their lineage from where they come, right? So now if you look at this, the pies, the 27 of them are arranged all around the galaxy with sun as the center point. We need some reference point in order to account for it, and the sun happens to be at the center. Now we have the pies there, and now you just look at it, right? You have Ashwini happens to be the first nakshatra. The arc length, right, is now divided is 30 degrees, of course. But then there are 27 nakshatras. The 27 nakshatras, they again further divided into padas. So there are 4 padas for the nakshatras. Padas meaning the space allocated within this arc is 4 for each nakshatra. So each arc, however, can only have a total of 9. Okay, so that's how the different padas, we can talk about how they divided up. But now if you look at the Ashwini nakshatra is the first nakshatra of the 27 that we have. Then comes Bharani, and then comes Kritika. So the day that you are born, right, you either say, hey, I was born in Ashwini nakshatra. I'll tell you how that happens also in another time. That's how you determine the day you were born. Now, Ashwini, actually, if you look at it, there's a number here, which is number 3. So when you say nakshatra, the nakshatra again is not just one star. It forms a constellation of many stars, actually, many different stars, meaning galaxies themselves, right? A star is a sun or a source of energy in that particular constellation. So it's not just one. So the Ashwini has 3 stars, Bharani has 3 stars. If you look at Kritika, it has 6 stars. So there's an interesting story about Kritika, right? Many of you may know that Subramanya, right? Subramanya is also called Kartikeya, and he had how many mothers? He had 6 mothers, right? 6 mothers. They helped him. They nursed him. 6 of them nursed him. Those are the 6 Kritika Nakshatra, Devatas, right? They came down to earth when Sharavana was born, right? And he was dropped on the Sharavana groves. The 6 Kritikas came in and nursed him. And that's exactly how he gets the name of Kartikeya. And that's how he's got 6 headed, because he made sure that he can suckle all 6 of them. So that's how Kritika. So each one, the reason I'm trying to mention this is each of these nakshatras have a story behind them, actually. And our Vedas and our Puranas, they all come together. They kind of meet. So the different stories that you may have heard about Kartikeya are related to the nakshatra being 6 here. So Rohini, for example, has 5 stars. So if you look at it, right, we didn't have telescopes. We didn't have anything back then, but they are able to identify a constellation on how many stars each one has and everything of that sort, right? Mrigashira, for example, has 3. Ardra, there's only 1, right? Ardra is normally referred to as the nakshatra of Lord Shiva. It is also the nakshatra that Lord Swami Ramanuja was born. It's called, when you say Aradra, right, the Sanskritam term for it is moist, right? One that makes something moist and revives is called Aradra. So that Aradra has only 1. That's all there is to it. So Punarvasu, of course, has 5. That's the nakshatra that Rama was born in. So we're going to have Rama Navami come up. We can talk about how Rama Navami comes up and how Punarvasu shows up there also. So that there are these different nakshatras that go around the 27, making a peach pie. But I want to try to draw your attention to one thing, where when we started off with Ashwini, there is 3. There, of course, Ashwini is 1. Like I said, each nakshatra has 4 padas, right? 4 padas meaning the length of the arc is divided up and given a number of 4 for the distance to cover. So Ashwini has 4, Bharani has 4. Now Kritika should have had 4, but since this arc can have only 9, Kritika gets 1. Okay, the other 3 padas, or the distance that we need to cover in the sky, with respect to the sun and the moon, is the 2, 3, and 4. The rest of the three padas fall in a different rashi. So Vaishaka Rashi, Vrishabha Rashi has three other padas. So that's why when you go to a temple, and when the priest asks you, hey, what nakshatra you are, and when you say, hey, I'm Kritika Nakshatra, they'll say, hey, which pada are you in? Right? Are you first pada? If you're first pada, then you're actually Mesha Rashi. Oh, I was born in Kritika Nakshatra, third pada. Oh, I'm really Vrishabha Rashi. So the Rashi that you see, the name of the Rashi is also the name of the month, and it is also the what do you call, the space in time, right? That defines where the moon was at the time that you were born. So there's a relationship to that, and we can really show you how that happens. But that's how the padas come into picture. That's the relationship between the month or the rashi to the nakshatra. So that's how, like, if anybody born in Kritika, like second, third, or fourth pada, or Rohini, or Mrigashira 1 and 2 padas, right? They will all be in Vrishabha Rashi. And that's how the Rashis come into picture. And that's how we talk about ourselves in our language, in terms of how the sun's movement gives us the month. It tells you where you are in terms of the season. The sun also defines us. Like I said, the 12 Adityas. For us, if you look at it, the major thing that we have is sun is just not a planetary body, right? The sun as a planetary body is one thing, but the Adityas are a different class of devatas that give us the energy source, and that energy source being nothing but the 12 Adityas. So each each month actually has a different Aditya. It's got a different set of rishis. It's got a different set of Gandharvas. All of it driving each of the months that we are in. So the sankalpam, when we talk about the sankalpam, right, all of that will come into picture, and we'll be able to carry forward. Here, Anvita is somebody that helps me kind of formulate a lot of these thoughts in terms of how we can convey. I'm just going to ask her if I am missing something today that we were supposed to cover. Um, is pretty much everything yet? And then we can probably, if you have a few more minutes, right, I think we can probably go through the different nakshatras. Punarvasu, like, if you look at it again, there's like these 4 different padas. They're divided up. Pushya nakshatra is an extremely important nakshatra for gurus, right? Anybody that is a guru, that is a great for leader in a religious sense, being in a Pushya nakshatra makes them exalted. They usually are somebody that's we have. That's why Guru Paurnami and all that happens during Pushya nakshatra right there, actually. So you'll see different things that happen that based on what nakshatra you are in. For example, people of Maka nakshatra, they have a lot of tendency to be very much related to their forefathers. That Maka nakshatra is supposed to be somebody that Pitrus, right? It belongs to Pitru Devata, controlled the Maka nakshatra. So people that are born in this particular nakshatra have a tendency to be drawn to that. So there are various aspects of how things happen. The one thing I want to cover last week, but I just couldn't, is this Uttara Palguni, Purva Palguni Nakshatra. Actually, the Palguni and the Uttara, right? Uttara itself is something that joins two things together, actually. So it's a very uh, exalted nakshatras. That's the reason why, if you look at it, Rama Sita's Kalyanam took place during the Uttara Palguni Nakshatram. Shiva Parvati got married apparently under the same nakshatra of Uttara Palguni. So Palguni as such is very important. So Ranganayaki Taya, right, Mahalakshmi, is supposed to have said to have taken birth on Uttara Palguni. So that's why Panguni Uttaram is extremely special. So there are a lot of things around the different nakshatras, and over the course of the next few this thing we can cover about all these nakshatras which are hasta, and chitra is supposed to be a beautiful nakshatra. That's why it gathers the name of chitra. um, I want to mention a few others. Jeshta is actually the first daughter, right? She's the
Oldest.
she's the oldest, rather. Sorry, she's the oldest daughter of Daksha Prajapati. That's why she's called Jeshta. So the and there's next is a Mula. Mula has 11 stars actually. Mula is 11, but at the same time, I think it leads to many thousands of other nakshatras. So it is a starting point for 11, but there are thousands and thousands of other nakshatras from the Mula. Mula meaning it's the beginning, right? It's a root. So that's how that name comes up. So there are various aspects to every nakshatra that we have. Every name that we have has an extremely great significance. It's unbelievable that our Vedic culture, our Vedic, simple thing as a calendar, right, that we follow in each of our life, each day of our lives, would have such a profound impact on us, because these are all devatas. One thing we need to remember is when you do homam and things like that, right? You do Navagraha Homam, you do Nakshatra Homam, Nakshatreshti Homam, right? For the 27 nakshatras. So these are all devatas that control how we live, what we are, what we do based on the particular day of the time, the day of the month, plus how we were born. So we'll also talk about some of those aspects of how they control us and why they control us. For example, there's another Shatabhisha Nakshatram. There's 100 of them actually. So there are hundreds of stars that make up Shatabhisha. Dhanishta is like 4, but they're supposed to be looking like diamond. They look so rich, and that's why called Dhanishta, Dhanam, right? That's how that comes out. So again, I want to reiterate the fact that it's such a profound thing to learn and look at the sky, to figure out the various nakshatrams that we have, the months that we have, based on how the sun and the moon traverse. It's not just January, February, or whatever, right? It's not a random delineation of the month. Again, one other thing I want to kind of quickly point out is right now we are closer to the sun than anywhere, anytime else, right? We used to be closer to the sun during February. We talked about the Andam, right? When we go, we are actually closer to the sun than any time of the year, but the gravitational pull makes you travel faster. So hence the month is actually shorter, right? The days are shorter because of that aspect of it. In summer, actually, we're going to be on the other side, right? Totally on this side, right? When we are on this side of the sun, we are actually farther away. But because of the tilt, right, we're going to have the effect of the sun. But at that time, we're going to move slower. We're going to move slower because we're going to be away from the sun, so the gravitational pull is going to be lesser, and that's how our month is going to be slightly longer. Our days are going to be slightly longer. So the days are slightly longer because of that aspect. So there's things that are physically driven based on how our calendar has been formed. It's been I don't know, thousands and thousands of years handed out to us with all of the perfect calculations that we know that make up our calendar. With that, I'm going to end today's series. Talk about the sun and its impact on us and the months that we have. Jai Shri Narayana, thank you very much for tuning in.
And dear Chicago Kalibari, we thank both Sri Ram and his daughter Anita for an excellent presentation. As he said, I'm sitting here and it's a mind-boggling exercise. We are talking all these things about this today in a scientific world. And as I said, this was all coming from Vedas. Again, the timing of the Veda, who can measure it? We don't know. See? And all these rishis, they didn't have any computer. They didn't have even the gadgets like your binoculars or telescope or this kind of a thing, whereas NASA is spending, billions and trillions of dollars over these years to analyze all these things, that one. How did these rishis did? So many, I don't know, million or billion years or whatever it is, that one. How were they able to do it, Did they go to Harvard, Stanford, or Michigan? No. They were sitting under a tree and they got all this knowledge right that, What brought them that knowledge, Again, I think, is my own thing. It must be the concentration on prayers, and by a sankalpa, something passes on to their mind, just in a fraction of seconds kind of a thing. This is something amazing to look at it. How did they do it? Again, keep on asking the questions. I would like every one of the students of science to ask this question. How did they do it without, any kind of a gadgets or anything else, Only their insightfulness, that's what it is, their capital. And focus, concentration, prayer, whatever it is, we yet to figure out, how did they get it? We'll keep on talking about that. Thanks a lot, for participating in that. And with this, we will have the next session next Saturday at 4:30. Thank you very much.